friends. I am happy to welcome Mr. Avneesh Raghuvanshi, Country Manager India and APAC Head of Private Equity Practice at Pederson Partners, an international executive search firm. Avneesh is super inspiring, he's spirited, courageous, and from my interactions with him, I have realized that he's fearless about exploring uncharted territory. He's also a respectful advocate of women's strengths and equitable role in the society and fully supports his wife Malika's career by being an ever-present parent. He's an avid sports person and an adventurer, and this has laid the foundation for both his sons um, to excel in any sports that they decide to play. In fact, I would like to share that Malika, his wife, is a formidable opponent for her children. Avneesh, so deeply appreciative of your agreement to be a part of Life Begins at 40. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thanks. Firstly, like to begin with, I think it's a pleasure to be connected to you, and I don't mean over this Zoom call, but even otherwise in life. The kind of zest you have for life, it's inspiring to say the least. And I keep telling my kids as well that they should always, this whole positivity. I mean, that's the most important thing in life. So it's always great to be talking to you or meeting you, and thanks for inviting me. Um, Secondly, for me, life, 40 was many decades ago. So, so, but it's been a good ride, even after, I wish sometimes though that that if I had the same life experiences and knowledge that I have now after 40, if I had the same before I was 40 or when I was a teenager, my God, I'd be irresistible to everyone.
So, how did you choose this industry, Avneesh, or did the industry pick you? And a little about your journey.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Industry.
Thanks. It's a very good question because, executive search, when I got into it, was not considered as as a career option.
Gee.
However, in the emerging markets, in the developed markets like the United States, etc. I mean, the executive search consultants basically came out of management consulting. Because it became the McKinseys for the McKinseys, the BCGs, etc., because it became a conflict of interest if they were doing a management consulting project to also then do executive search, there was a split. However, in India and other emerging markets, executive search was not viewed as a career option way back, in the mid 90s when I ventured into it. And by the way, this year, I'm celebrating a silver jubilee in the industry. So, yeah, it's a lot of gray hair and all of that. But I was, you know, uh, I was pursuing a career in banking and with a background in accounting. But to me, the part that you said about the industry choosing, I think that resonates because to me, numbers never spoke, people do. And therefore, like you, I really enjoy engaging with people. And then, if you're passionate about what you do, you know, so, then, it's probably not just Silver Jubilee, but many other jubilees after this as well.
Absolutely. So one quick question. How has this industry grown since in the last 25 years? What is the change that you have seen?
Interesting, because, the industry has actually started maturing a lot. Like I said, it was already very matured in the developed markets, where the chief executives and the board members actually sat with the executive search consultants, continue to sit with this executive search consultants to try and understand, what kind of people will fit in best in their organization. So it's not just a CV pushing sort of game. But that's how it was being viewed earlier in the emerging markets, and more so in India, where we as a culture are averse to any kind of professional services, because we feel that we can do everything ourselves. And so therefore, in the initial phases, that was tough to explain to clients. But now, over the last 2.5 decades, we've seen how the good organizations have leveraged executive search consultants consistently to build quality in their leadership.
So, coming to the search that you only do CXO level search, and what is the progress or change that you see in these dynamic times, and what you think, which you have already shared, what you think are the qualities a leader must possess today to propel the organization forward, because you work across sectors?
I think, leadership, yes, there is a science to it, and one can learn, and people do their postgraduate degrees, etc. But a lot of leadership is also from within. A lot of leadership is also an art. A lot of leadership is also about again, engaging with people. And what COVID has done actually is that it has exposed a lot of leaders, and a lot of organizations which were functioning within boxes,
Yeah.
suddenly find themselves, that they need to be a lot more agile. But I think from a leadership perspective, the few things which are very important, and which have been highlighted by what's happened in the world in the past few months, and going forward will be important, is empathy for people. I think that's trait number one for any successful leader. You have to have empathy for people. You have to now shift your management style to become an enabler instead of the command and control style that a lot of leaders had previously, which worked very well, of course, by the way. But considering what's happening with the world now, it's very important to be an enabler. You have to be resilient, because again, you'll see organizations going through a lot of transformation. You have to be decisive as a leader. You have to be you have to exude a lot of optimism. I mean, you may shut the door and be by yourself, and wonder how you're going to tackle the next challenge. But to your teams, to your organization, you have to show that air of optimism, because they believe in you, they look up to you. And I think lastly, more and more leaders will have to focus on developing talent rather than just leveraging their skills. So I think that's where I see leadership, the good leaders focusing on as a leader.
Wonderful. So, how do you, as a thought leader, anticipate the nature of work changing in the next few years?
So, look, the nature of work is not going to change. You and I will always have a certain set of deliverables that we have to within certain constraints and within a timeline, we have to deliver on our whatever the deliverables we agreed on with our supervisors.
Yes.
or with ourselves. I think the nature of the most important thing that is going to change is that people will need to become very mature. Organizations will need to become very mature, because earlier, and I remember this, that I was helping an organization hire a head of sales, and the managing director, uh, you know, who was a sort of control freak, if I may, and he was constantly on this thing that, okay, I don't want to hire X, I don't want to hire Y, simply because I think that they will be out playing golf more than helping build up sales. Um, but that's, now people are working from home, people are working remote, people are working from anywhere. And therefore, you have to be mature enough to trust them,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know. Um,
The biggest challenge you have faced
Personally,
professionally, personally, I mean, especially in these challenging times, both.
yeah, so professionally, um, you know, and especially over the past few months, I think um the biggest challenge for me was, how do I motivate my team members every morning to to pursue their you know pursue what they're supposed to be doing with a lot of optimism. So I struggled with it initially, because you know how do you tell people when there was so much uncertainty, and especially in a business like ours, where organizations were hesitant on recruiting leaders, because they weren't sure whether what's going to happen or not. So, so how do you wake up, and then how do you speak to your team members to charge them up? I think that was a big challenge, and an interesting one. Um, yeah, I think that. Um, but otherwise, the biggest challenge that I have faced, um, and I've had my wife to thank for being the backbone and the support, was when one of our kids was diagnosed with an illness, and with a protracted treatment over 3 to 5 years. So I think that was definitely a big challenge. Um, but it's it made all of us stronger, um, because it may sound cliched, but things will come to you, and you just need to deal with them. For overcoming things, I think one of the most important things, now that you mention it, and I'm thinking about it, was that if you put everything in perspective, and if you put things into process. So we said, okay, this is how our days are going to be. This is how our week is going to be. This is what we're going to do for the next month. This is what we're going to do for the next 6 months. So we broke it down. The entire treatment of a leukemia, we broke it down to a process,
Hmm.
and we just followed the process. So it didn't. So therefore, as uh, as the Bhagavad Gita says, I mean, if you have if you have a target, if you have so if be resolute, and just focus on that, on how to achieve that.
Wonderful. So, how is Avneesh outside of his professional space?
I think that's a question you need to ask others. But I think Uh, uh, you know, I like to be with my family. I like to be with my friends.
Hmm.
I make attempts on ensuring that people come together. Um, I like to read,
Hmm.
and you know, yeah.
What would a normal day look like in your life?
Now, as in,
As in,
so I wake up early and I practice an hour of yoga. Um, you know, followed by thrice a week I play tennis for an hour. So all this, try and finish all this by 8. Uh, have a good breakfast. Um, and get to office, um, spend time with my team, reviewing, spend time with my team, figuring out what we should be doing, getting feedback from them. Before you know it, the day is over. You're back. Like I said, I like to read. I like to watch a lot of action movies or comedies. And yeah, and at the same time, uh, I also try and include my family, my kids, in some of the things that I do. I love eating, and it's a passion that I share with my best friend, who is your brother-in-law, and both of us are big foodies, so we like to go out and eat and experiment and try new things.
what is that one story that you tell your children time and again from your
Mhm.
life?
Um, you know, while while I try and you know be a friend to my children,
Hmm.
and but you know it's there is a certain responsibility or a certain way that a parent has to be as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think more and more in today's day and age, um, what is what is going to take people forward is upbringing and discipline, and
Hmm.
that's what I focus on in when I'm speaking with my kids, in
Hmm.
terms of how they should be, um, you know respectful to people, how they should be. So most of the stories that I tell them are around that. Most of the stories they hear from my friends is about my wild past, so they're confused. They, you know, and I'm just waiting, for them to one day turn around and say, "But Dad, we heard from Sachin Chacha, or we heard from someone else something which is totally contrary to what you're telling us now." So, but yeah, so it's not just one story, but it's about many stories of how you need to have some kind of a discipline in life.
We're going to move to some fun questions now. And
Wow, I
yeah,
thought this was fun.
this was
There's
very
more fun.
fun. But some like shorter questions, like insight into Mr. Avneesh Raghuvanshi. Everyone has a pet name. What did your parents address you as?
Yeah, I was, infamously known as Bunty,
Okay.
which, as soon as I got engaged, my wife basically told all my close friends and my family that if anyone ever calls me Bunty, they will not be welcome in our home. So so now there's just literally one person who has um, the you know who can get away with it, and that's again my best friend.
So, what's your favorite
So
holiday been?
yeah, I think um, all holidays are nice, right? I mean, you get time to unwind and all of that. Some of my best holidays have been when I've done some fun stuff with the kids, things that I could not do when I was growing up,
Hmm.
because we didn't have the opportunity or the resources.
Hmm.
But jumping off a plane, or going skiing, or stuff like that, which when you do with your kids, and they just sort of it's they just feel so alive,
Yeah.
and so do you, and not because I had a fear of heights.
Hmm.
um, but after jumping from a plane a few times, that's gone. And so your earlier question about what is one of the things that you tell your kids, that's one of the things I tell them, that look, you need to face your fears.
Wonderful. So let's go a little international now. If Kim Kardashian and Donald Trump were both drowning, and you could say only one, who would it be?
Yeah, I mean, look, not to be controversial about this, but I would save Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
Um, like I said, and it's not because I believe in in him as in who he is as a person or whatever, but I'm married. What will I do with Kim Kardashian? You know,
Well,
at least Donald, at least Donald as the,
and what book are you reading these days?
you know, I'm reading a Tom Clancy fiction called Dead or Alive. It's again, those 15 minutes before bedtime
Hmm.
uh, kind of reading,
Hmm.
rather than on your iPad or on your on some electronic media.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you a funny story here. When you take early morning flights, which I do very often,
Yeah.
because I like to spend the evening, with the family, rather than go
And
a night ahead. So I like to take early morning flights. But most early morning flights, you'll find, people are have their laptops open, and then they're trying to work on their Excel files and stuff like that. I generally, have a mad comic, or some kind of or even an Archie's comic or whatever.
discipline. So, what is the useful skill that one useful skill you have learned over the years and it has stood by you?
People, um, you know, skill. Okay, interpersonal skills. Yeah. So I would say, you know, I think that's something which has stood by me.
And this is also interpersonal. So, the most romantic thing you've done for Malika.
Yeah. Uh, I've known Malika since the day she was born.
What are you saying?
Yeah, yeah. Her elder brother, um, and your brother-in-law and I were three best friends from school, and Malika was this pesky little kid. From a romance perspective, I don't know, but earlier on, when we were still sort of dating and stuff, I used to live in Bombay, and Malika was in Delhi, and I would get, and these were the pre-Zomato days, and all of that, but I would get pizzas delivered to her, or ice creams delivered to her.
Mountains, sea, fields, or meadows?
Mountain.
Mountains. And what's your favorite playlist? Your go to song?
Song or playlist? And I'll share my playlist with you. I think, uh, um, but it's very eclectic. It ranges from, and please don't laugh, but it ranges from, bhajans to, heavy metal, and a lot of things in between, including, Hindi romantic songs or ghazals or what have you. Uh,
Okay, Avneesh, lastly, what is that one small thing a person can do each day to improve their lives and be a better version of themselves, in your opinion?
Smile at a stranger. I mean, you know, do an act of, and without being Mother Teresa about it, but do an act of, even a small act of kindness for, you know, someone.
I have, thank you so much for your time and your kind words at the beginning.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And as always, I have truly enjoyed chatting with you, this interaction with you. And I'm very, very grateful that you're a part of all our lives and you've agreed to give this time today for my channel. Thank you.
Thank you. And likewise, as I said earlier, it's great to know you
Hmm.
because you're an inspiration yourself.
You're just kind again. So, last few words, guys. If you please be sure to watch this video. And if you like the video, do not forget to share it with your friends and family and near and dear ones, also on your social media. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you get regular updates. Much. Thank you again, Avneesh, and wish you a
Thank
wonderful
you.
journey.